position.
Andy Charsley bidding for the lead at Paddock, chasing second place into Paddock and perhaps even chasing the lead. Cubit, and no it isn't, it's Charsley in front of Cubit. Andy Charsley going into Druids in the lead. Sorting themselves out as they come down the hill. Andy Charsley leads George Cubit, and behind that John Oxborough with his homebrew chassis. Remember, all of these cars have the 1600cc Kent pushrod engine, but the chassis mix covers Van Diemen, Ray, Reynard, and of course that Oxborough. Charsley leads from Cubit, who is the points leader in the championship at the moment after 4 rounds. 3 laps down, Charsley, Cubit, Chris Hall has moved up. Oxborough is now 4th and Richard Reynolds is in 5th place. And busy round Druids. Still Charsley, pursued, harried by George Cubit. Cubit could really afford to let Andy Charsley go. It won't change his lead in the title race. But he's not going to let him have it. George Cubit pulls out of the slipstream. He's alongside Andy Charsley. He's wide at Paddock, almost touching wheels, dives now for the inside. Andy Charsley holds on to the lead. Formula Ford always close, always tense, and never more so than in these fast corners. Charsley, Cubit, Chris Hall, number 1, is in 3rd place. And watching to see what happens as Cubit tries again on Andy Charsley. Chris Hall moves up, waiting to pounce if there's an opportunity. Oxborough is still in 4th place. Andy Charsley the leader, and they're so close, this top 4. Cubit again, looking for a way past Charsley. Dives for the inside. Has he got it this time? No, Charsley cuts him off. Cubit goes wide. Chris Hall right behind him. Cubit cannot afford an error now. He follows Charsley round Druids. So close as the race progresses, they're still close together. Cubit virtually rubbing his nose cone against the back end of Andy Charsley's car. Now has a go at Surtees, or does he? No, Charsley's in front. Still Chris Hall in 3rd place and starting to look round George Cubit. And the top 3 now moving away from the rest of the field. And Oxborough has given a place to Reynolds. Charsley and Cubit again. And that's John Oxborough and Richard Reynolds. And Oxborough, big one, shedding wheels, ends up the right way up. That has done that car no good at all. The Oxborough homebrew chassis withstood that, but certainly ripped off one wheel. Oxborough walks away. Richard Reynolds also out of it. So Charsley, Cubit, Chris Hall, then Cliff Lawrence and Sebastian Mordillo up into 5th place. Cubit again. Chris Hall looking to go with him or go past him. Cubit on the inside. Will he get away with it this time? He keeps trying at Paddock. Chris Hall behind him is trying as well. Chris Hall looking everywhere. Still Charsley from Cubit, and then Chris Hall, 1st, 2nd and 3rd. And this is the moment we said goodbye to Oxborough and Richard Reynolds. The leaders go through Paddock, and then all of a sudden a spinning Oxborough upside down, bounces on the roll cage, and that's what they're for, of course, into the tyre wall, shaken, stirred but unhurt. Andy Charsley, the race leader then. George Cubit, who dearly wants to be the race leader, who leads the championship at the moment. He's busy fighting off Chris Hall behind him and looking for a way past Andy Charsley. Only a short circuit, remember, 1.2 miles. Lots and lots to do. Very busy for the drivers all the way round the Brands Hatch Indy Circuit. George Cubit again, setting himself up as they come towards Paddock. Will he do it this time? He's through on the inside. They both run wide. Charsley's beside him. Cubit and Charsley neck and neck up the hill towards Druids. Cubit has the inside line. Chris Hall's coming up as well. Chris Hall is well placed to take 2nd if he can. Cubit has the lead. Charsley's dropping back. Chris Hall is there. Charsley has the inside line going down the hill. George Cubit, though, Well, that complicated mathematical sum we did at the beginning is slightly changed by the fact that Cubitt is in the lead, but it doesn't change the positions in the title race. Cliff Lawrence has changed the outcome of his weekend by going off into the gravel, and he climbs out of it. And a very delicate little step there as he runs clear to the tyre wall. Cliff Lawrence out of it, and this three still in the thick of it. At the moment, it is Andy Charsley and Chris Hall fighting for second place, and Chris Hall is going through. Hall is up to second place. Charsley demoted to third. Cubitt then from Chris Hall and Andy Charsley. Chris Hall has really worked at this. He followed the battle for the lead. Now it's been settled in Cubitt's favour. He has made his move, and so too has Sebastian Mordillo, made his move into the tyre wall, just nudges it gently and ploughs the ground a bit and rejoins the race. George Cubitt, the race leader, the championship leader, heading towards a fifth round victory and an increasing lead in the title race. Behind him on the track in second place is Chris Hall. In third place, Andy Charsley. And the front three now fairly spread out, as too is number 82, Michael Tegadine, and John Hayden spread out all over the gravel at Clearways. So the usual complement of violent retirements, which we expect from any Formula Ford race. Cubitt, though, still leads it. George Cubitt fought for this lead, deserves it, takes the checkered flag. A well-deserved win from George Cubitt. Chris Hall second, Charsley third, Len Bull fourth, and Paul Ward in fifth place.